Hi everyone, my name is Nate Lehoux. I am an automotive enthusiast, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about autonomous vehicles on our roadway. Um, I personally am an auto enthusiast, so I believe that we should not have autonomous vehicles. I believe we should be able to drive what we want and when we want, and I believe that kind of goes away with having a lot of autonomous vehicles. Um, so, for most of this, imagine a world where nobody drives. There's no cars, uh, the travel times are lower, there's no stop and go traffic, there's no traffic at all. It's pretty crazy to think about, but in the future it could become a thing. So there's a couple main different points that I wanted to go over, and these are the points um, for autonomous vehicles, which they do have some great benefits. The first, reducing emissions for pretty much the entire world. Safety is a big one, and also traffic in general. Um, so the reduced emissions part of this, a lot of you say, well, reduced emissions would be more electric vehicles, and that's true. But when you count for all of the emissions for vehicles that are in stop traffic, or are essentially, doing a lot of small town driving, things like that, it takes a lot of gas to idle a car, and you're getting no efficiency out of it. So you're getting 0 miles per gallon when you're at a stop. That's just basically going out into the atmosphere, and there's nothing you can do about it, and you're getting nothing out of it. So, uh, doing autonomous vehicles would allow you to, if all autonomous vehicles were aware of each other, you could essentially bypass traffic. Because if every car was aware of every other car, you wouldn't have to stop. There would be no accidents, things like that. Um, so, for some statistics, a typical passenger vehicle actually emits 4.6 metric tons of carbon monoxide a year. And that's from the EPA. The EPA's greenhouse gas emissions from a typical passenger vehicle on their website just basically specifies which vehicles get the best gas mileage, and kind of do some comparisons with electric vehicles as well. On our second point, we've got safety. Uh, Road accidents and fatalities are becoming more and more common as essentially our population increases. So the more the population, more cars on the road, the more chance that fatal accidents will happen, and that does seem to kind of be the case with the numbers. They do fluctuate from year to year, but generally they are kind of going on an upward scale, essentially. So a state's population has an obvious effect on the number of motor vehicles, deaths, fatality rates per capita, and per vehicle miles traveled. That is from the IIHA, which is another organization that is a government affiliated organization for automotive vehicle safety. Um, and I also have a graph here that kind of shows some of the emissions standards that we talked about as well. So you can see on the bottom, as we continue to utilize these cars, the emissions don't go up per year. But as you use a manual driving car with traffic, stop and go traffic, your emissions continue to go up per year. The third point, traffic. US is actually currently rated the fifth most congested road system in the entire world. So on main traffic stuff, basically autonomous vehicles, like I mentioned before, would kind of be aware of each other, which would eliminate stop and go traffic, would eliminate pretty much any intersection whatsoever. Any backups, traffic, things like DC or California, a lot of that stuff wouldn't exist anymore, simply because vehicles would just be aware of everybody else, and would be able to travel at higher rates of speed, and wouldn't need to stop for intersections. because at a regular intersection, you stop to let somebody else go because you can't really tell, who exactly is going when. So with the autonomous car, they already know. So you put in your destination and it brings you there, and it actually has that in a log system. So any other car that's around you is fully aware of the destination that your car is going and which turn you're going to be taking. So in conclusion, there are a few benefits, like I said, to having autonomous vehicles. The first one here is our emissions. As we go and as we increase year to year, the emissions would go down if we were using more autonomous vehicles. The second part of that is the safety. Again, basically every car kind of knew where every car was going to go, so there are no collisions, so there are no fatalities. And the last part is the traffic. Commutes will be increased in speeds because traffic will not exist, and stop and go traffic won't exist. Idling won't exist, and that's going to help with all emission standards as well. So at this point, I have done this speech, and I was originally against autonomous vehicles. I'm still hesitant about autonomous vehicles at this point, but I believe there are some great benefits to it, and I believe that with the correct government oversight and policies, safety procedures, and laws, I believe it'll be a great addition to our entire country and the entire world. Thank you very much for coming and seeing my presentation, and I hope you all are doing well. Thank you very much. Bye.